Some of my wife's good old homemade kombucha. That is good stuff. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and today I wanted to give you a bit of an update on an old Ask Swanky Cat video, and I'm sure all of you guys are kind of continually wondering which of the bikes that I own is my favorite. Yesterday, I had the chance for the first time to take every single bike that I own, all four of them, out for a ride one after another. I started with my 2002 Yamaha TW200. That bike makes about 12 horsepower. Then I moved on to my 2018 DR650 made by Suzuki. That bike makes about 40 horsepower. And then I took my 2023 Honda XR650L out. That one also makes right around 40 horsepower. And then finally, I took my 2016 Husqvarna 701 Enduro out. And you would think that that one being literally twice the sticker price of the XR and the DR would be by far my favorite. But getting on all four of them, one after another, really sort of opened my eyes, and it was kind of a weird experience. I've definitely ridden them all in close succession before, but never one after another like that. And it's weird how you kind of miss things if you're not doing that. So that was definitely interesting and kind of a cool experience. And I've got to say, the TW200 is always a fun bike to get on. Obviously, it has its limitations, and it is sort of charming and fun for very different reasons than the other three. So it's not really a fair comparison, but it is always fun to get on that bike. It's just kind of a different machine, a much different experience, and is definitely fun. I'm definitely glad that I've had the chance to ride that bike. I know I don't do a whole lot of videos on it anymore, but it is certainly a fun bike to have in the garage. However, it's definitely, I would say, probably not my favorite. Next, I took the 2018 DR. I've done more, I think, looking at that bike in the garage than I have really worked on it or ridden it. But I've got to say, there is something about it that really is cool. And I haven't spent, like I said, enough time with it yet, but it sure does seem like a good bike for the type of riding that I'm building both the DR and the XR to do. I think with its oil cooler, with the cush drive in the back, just the fact that it seems like it's maybe built and tested to run a bit longer. I think you could pretty easily get, as long as you take good care of it, around 30,000 miles out of that bike, which is sort of, I guess, kind of a benchmark in my mind. I think most bikes should be able to make it to there without too many problems. And I've got to say, I think once I get the fork seals fixed, I think once I just spend some more time on that bike, riding some trails, having some good times with it like I have with the XR, once I fix the squishy front end, the suspension just feels really soft, probably partially because the fork seals are leaking. I'm hoping once I shore up the suspension, the front brakes will feel a little bit better, because that was honestly the first thing that I noticed about that bike when I got on it is, man, these brakes don't feel good. They almost feel unsafe. And I think shoring up the front end will probably increase the braking or decrease the braking distance. But I don't know. It almost seems like maybe I should just change out the fluid or something, or new pads. I don't know. It doesn't give me a great feeling, I'll put it that way. I think once I do some of the mods that I have done to the XR, and even just some of the cheap, easy, free mods with the carburetor and the de-snorkeling and stuff like that, I think it'll really help. Stock gearing on that bike, I think I pretty much realized right from the get-go, will probably benefit from moving down from a 15 tooth to a 14 tooth. So I think a lot of my feelings can easily be changed on that bike with just a few mods that I think most DR riders agree are just sort of normal things that you have to do to that bike if you want it to perform at its best. And then it's probably going to be a far better motorcycle for my type of riding than any of the other ones are, honestly. But after riding that bike and jumping on the XR, I've got to say, I honestly, I think some of it has to do with the sort of wide flat seat on that bike compared to the sort of curved top. They're both seat concept seats on both, I guess, the DR and the 701. That sort of wide flat seat really feels good to me. The handlebars on all three of them, or really all four of them, are just about where I want them as far as rise and sweep and that sort of thing go. The XR, of course, does have the Hemisphere off-road rally windscreen, and I've got the CarPlay nav unit on the backside, which I just kind of like. It just adds to the experience for me. I know it's not necessary, but it's just kind of fun. But beyond that, the good, solid feeling that I get from the suspension, the 14 tooth, gearing that bike down, even though I didn't think that I was really going to need or want to do that, man, it makes it so much more fun. Just the sort of solid feeling between the throttle and the rear tire. I think partially because of the fact that it does not have a cush drive, and maybe the cush drive on the DR needs to be tightened up a little bit. I read a thread about somebody saying that they'd stuck some little rubber pieces over the cush drive to kind of shore that up because they noticed that theirs was loose, and I have actually noticed that about mine as well. So again, it's definitely, I think there are some things that I could mod on that bike to make it feel better, and I will do that, and maybe my thoughts will change on that eventually. I mean, the XR in general doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for a dual sport ADV build, just because it doesn't have any cooling other than the air cooling, really. It's not really meant to be on the highway for long periods of time, especially if you gear it down. You're going to be running a little bit hotter. I've heard that people have had issues where the rings have not been properly gapped and they'd be a little bit too big, so when they heat up, they actually can lock up, which is definitely not a good thing. And I haven't done any of my own research on that, but that is definitely something that happens to engines. I don't know for certain that it's happened on a lot of XRs, but it is something that I've heard. And even just in general, I mean, my research and just the used bikes that I looked at when I was finding all of these, I found more XRs with rebuilt engines at lower miles than I have any of the other ones that I own. So I think that is definitely something that is concerning. I think you do also sort of have to take that with a grain of salt, though, because I think somebody that's going to buy a DR650, the average DR650 rider, the majority of DR650 riders, are probably looking to do more adventure type dual sport riding, where the XR with its 13 inches of ground clearance and 12 inches of suspension travel, that's a bike that somebody that really wants to ride hard is going to be interested in, and somebody that, you know, really wants to push the limits off-road. And if you're somebody that's going to push the limits of a bike while lugging them around isn't necessarily good for them, obviously running them, you know, full out all the time, redline, isn't necessarily great for longevity either. So I think some of that kind of plays into that. I think that can also kind of play into the issues that people see with the 701. Obviously, if you're on the gas all the time, really hard, you know, it's going to wear things out a little bit faster. So I think maybe that has something to do with the XR and the 701 issues that you see out there. But in general, I think the XR is going to be less reliable than the DR. Maybe if you put an oil cooler on it, that wouldn't be the case. I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to want to do that, I guess. I'm not really sure. But when I jumped from the XR to the 701, I was actually kind of disappointed that the 701 is a lot of fun. And if I only ride that bike, or if I ride it for a long period of time, or maybe if I don't ride a bunch of other bikes and then have that be the last one where I'm kind of tired and sore and wore out for the day, maybe that would change. But I know the very first time that I jumped on the 701, and the first couple times really, it kind of threw me off because the sound and the feeling that you get from the throttle, that there's just sort of a disconnect between what you think it should be sounding like and what it should be doing when you're turning that throttle and what actually happens, where the XR and even the DR2, they just feel more natural. And I think maybe if you only rode, I guess like I said, if I only ride the 701, I think that goes away. You sort of acclimatize to it and you get it figured out, and then it's not an issue. But I definitely seem to gravitate more towards the old Thumpers. Just the vibrations, the sound. I mean, my dad kind of complains and kind of laughs at how bouncy and vibey the tail light on the XR is at idle, and he said on the highway it's you know, vibrates a lot. And I guess I've always said that it does, but it's not a bad vibration. It's a positive part of the experience for me anyways. And I know that might seem kind of weird, but I've definitely been on bikes that have put out vibrations that I do not like. And I've definitely been on bikes where I've got off them and my hands, my feet feel buzzy. And after a long period of time, I guess on the highway, I probably would feel that way on the XR. But in general, most of the riding that I've done on that bike, unless it's really close to redline, I just kind of enjoy that part of it. It does get kind of loud and annoying after a while, especially riding without earplugs. But other than that, that is the bike that I like the most right now. And I'm kind of surprised to hear myself say that, just because it seems like it shouldn't be the right one. I just really like it. And I think initially, before I had started to doing the mods on the XR, especially before I lowered the back an inch and the front 3/4 of an inch, the DR650 definitely felt like the bike for me, just because of how well it handled both on the pavement and on the gravel. But now with the XR lowered, I really like the engine. I really like the throttle response. I really like the feeling I get on the bike. I like that seat a bit better because it is a little bit wider and flatter than the other ones. And now, especially with it lowered, it's kind of a little bit closer to, well, not sliding me down into the tank all the time. I don't know. I really like it. And I think that might be closely rivaled by the DR when I get some of the mods done, but there is just something about that XR that I really like. So hopefully that was a good enough update for you guys. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, or if you've got a question that you think would be good for this segment, let me know down in the comment section, and I will do my best to get to it. I promise we will get to modding the DR, and we've got lots of other stuff to stick on the XR650. Huge thanks to all my sponsors that help me do these builds, and an extra special thank you to anyone that has signed up for my channel membership. It really does make a difference, and it really helps, especially when ad revenue dips. It's also super helpful when you guys use my affiliate links when you're buying your motorcycle gear from Rocky Mountain, or anything really even from Amazon too. I put links down in the description. You can just click the link, buy anything after clicking that link, and because I'm sort of directing you to those places, they send me a small commission, and that is a pretty good chunk of my income for this channel, which, if you guys are unaware, this is my full-time job now. So huge thanks to all of you guys that make that possible. I really do appreciate it, and I love it, and I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out and enjoy this beautiful world God created any chance you get. But if you can't do that right now, here's some more videos to check out in the meantime. Swanky Cat came to say hi. Say hi? This is where the name came from. We should do a video on that someday, shouldn't we, buddy? Yeah, he doesn't have a tail. Came with no tail. You're a nice guy, though, aren't you? You're digging into my shoulder, though. That's not very nice. Okay. Stop.